everybody, how are we doing today? I hope that today is treating you well, and hopefully it's going to get a little better here as you participate in this webinar, which is 3 crucial opportunities that all educators have as we are combating what's happening in our portfolio while the world is combating COVID-19. Now, as educators, we all know sometimes people are a bit late for class, right? Students kind of struggle and sometimes for very legitimate reasons. I'm not saying anything negatively, but all I'm saying is that we're going to wait just for a couple of minutes while we allow others to jump on if they're running a bit behind. And while we're waiting, I posted this poll question for you as to how much has COVID-19 made you think about your retirement plans and possibly reassess them? So as you're thinking about that, kind of getting your mind going into what we're going to be discussing today, you could be choosing A, which is, boy, I think about it all the time. I'm really concerned. I'm hoping that everything that I've done to plan is going to work out. So that's why I'm here, Sarah, right? You could be choosing B, which is sometimes I think about it a bit more, but how could you not? Because we're inundated with social media, with our news sources that tell us that the market is up, the market is down, the market is up, the market is down, and you can't escape it. We're constantly bombarded with how the market is doing, and of course that sometimes causes us to think about how that's going to affect our lives in particular. You may pick C, which is, really hasn't changed my thought process too much because I'm just the type of person that goes with the flow, but you may have tuned in because you're thinking, boy, I could learn something maybe. Maybe there are some opportunities that I could take advantage of right now that could help me either plan for my retirement in a better way or tweak my retirement plans as they are right now and make my future years a bit better. And D, probably if you're here, you're not going to be choosing D unless the hubby or the wife is making you watch this with them, and D is your true answer. That's okay. Whether you choose A, B, C, or D, I do know that today you're going to learn something. So I think we're right about ready to get started. So let's do it, right? Three crucial opportunities that all educators have in this time of COVID-19 to help in their retirement plans. Hey, so I love this gal right here who is welcoming us to the start of the webinar. And yes, she does have a few years on all of us, I'm sure. But boy, she's having a great time, isn't she? And I love it because that's really what retirement is supposed to be about, folks. You should be preparing for or in your golden years where you're doing what you want to do, not what you have to do. And you have a plan to help fulfill that with what you've saved over the years. And so that's our philosophy at Hudson Wealth Management, is that we want you to have a retirement that you truly enjoy. And that's why it's so important as things change, times change, things in our world change, that you're constantly looking at and reassessing what's happening in your accounts to make sure you're still on track. So before we talk about opportunity number 1, we're going to have a little inspirational moment here, okay? So if I was in the classroom, I'd had one of you read this out loud for the class, but since I'm the only one you can hear, I'm going to read it, okay? What is the difference between an obstacle and an opportunity? Our attitude toward it. Every opportunity has a difficulty, and every difficulty has an opportunity. And so while some others are sticking their heads in the sand and kind of ignoring what's happening right now and hoping that everything is going to turn out all right, you're here because you realize that there may be some opportunity for you during what's happening with COVID-19. And these are the opportunities that are presenting themselves right now. So let's get on to number one, opportunity number one. Opportunity number one. Now you're reading this, opportunity number one is making a logical, informed decision. Boy, that's pretty revolutionary, isn't it? We try to make logical and non-emotional decisions all the time. But while things are happening such as they are right now in our world, it makes it a bit difficult to be more logical and non-emotional. And we've all seen this with what we've seen when things began, right? With the panic buying. Boy, I went to the store and they were out of toilet paper, they were out of rice, they were out of yeast. My eldest son wanted to get into making some bread at home because he wanted to learn a new skill while quarantine was happening, and there was not a drop of yeast in sight. So I guess people were either preparing for the fact that there wasn't going to be any bread and they had to make it themselves, or everybody got the same idea that Alex did, which was let's create a new hobby and make some bread. I don't know. But the point is, it's a natural reaction when something like this happens, where all of a sudden there's no toilet paper. People are thinking, boy, what is going to happen? And they start to panic, and that panic causes actions such as a bit of hoarding with some of the supplies that we need for an everyday on an everyday basis. And that can translate into panic selling in your portfolio. Now, you may have had a conversation with yourself, or you may have had a conversation with a friend, or you may have had a conversation with a spouse, whomever, with your current financial advisor. Should we get out? We should get out. Shouldn't we get out? It's down. Now, the adage goes that you don't sell when you're down. However, that does not stop the initial reaction that a lot of us have when the market is down, because it's scary. It's scary to think that all of that money that, if you lost 30%, okay? Let's say you lost 30%. You had $100,000 in an account, and I'm just doing that because it's easy math, and you lost 30%. That's $30,000. And you start thinking to yourself, how long did it take me to have $30,000 be contributed or grow in that account? Like a long time. And in a matter of a week or two, some of you even days, gone like that. And it causes an emotional reaction where you're thinking, boy, I think maybe I should sell what I have because I don't want to lose any more. I want to move it into something more conservative. Now, is that saying that everybody watching shouldn't do that? No, that's not, because everybody's situation is different. There may be a very logical reason for you to move into something more conservative, or there may be a very logical reason for you to stay where you're at. It's all about taking the emotion out of the decision. And another thing to remember is that we have been here before. We've never been here before, but we have. And what I mean by that is, even though we haven't had times where we've been quarantined or have had to wear masks out in public and social distance, there have been pandemics which have affected our nation and the market. Things like AIDS and the Zika virus and SARS. And I'll tell you, with the 12 pandemics that we've seen since, or the 12 market declines that we've seen since 1980,
Within 6 months of those market declines, the S&P was positive in 11 of the 12 situations. That's really what history tells us. Now, we can build some confidence by evaluating past pandemics, but of course we can't predict the future. However, even bear markets aren't something that are so unusual. The reason why we think they're unusual right now is because we had such a bull run, okay, where the market was up for so many years in a row. But from 1900 to 2013, there were 123 bear markets, and the stock market averages a correction or a time when it's down about every 3.5 years. So that we just need to realize that these things are going to happen. So what do we do about it, right? I want to give you an opportunity here to look at one of the tools that I have at my disposal, which is called a stress test, and it's put out by Riskalyze. And what I'm able to do with my clients is to take their current portfolios, put them into this software, and it's able to tell us what would happen in certain scenarios. Like if a bull market were to happen again, as it did in 2013, or if another bear market happened again, and this one refers to 2008, but I'm sure that you did see some back in April, okay? This is a very helpful tool that has allowed my clients to really be able to evaluate the accounts that they have. And this is something that I could do for you as well, and I'm sure that you'd find a lot of value in. So let's recap opportunity number one, the ability to make those logical decisions in the face of fear. And sometimes that means leaving the account as is, and sometimes it doesn't. Of course, we know that past performance does not dictate future results. However, this is something that we want to look at logically and not emotionally. So now let's move on to opportunity number two.
Now, this is a hot topic in social media and in the news, talking with your friends, family, possibly your financial advisor. This is something that is more in the forefront right now than it has been in years past. And the reason being is that converting to a Roth IRA or having a Roth IRA, it all has to do with taxes. So you'll see my little note there that prior to making any kind of decision to do this, you should have your financial advisor consult with a tax professional, your tax professional. I do that with tax professionals all the time. Or you should just be talking to your CPA on your own to see whether or not it's a good idea. Because we know that there are two things in life that are certain. There's enough of the one in the world today with death. Well, there's enough of both, but we're only going to talk about taxes today. Before we talk, or before you can understand how a Roth conversion can be of benefit to you, we first want to take a look at the differences between a traditional IRA and a Roth IRA, just to remind ourselves of what those differences are. Now, with a traditional IRA, the money that you put into that account is tax deductible, and everything that grows in that account is also going to be tax deferred. However, when you take the money out, when you're in your retirement and you're using it, it's going to be counted as ordinary income, and you're going to have to pay your income taxes on it at that point, okay? There's also one other thing with a traditional IRA, and that's called an RMD, which is a required minimum distribution. Now, it used to be that at 70 and a half, that's when you'd have to start taking money out of your traditional IRAs. However, in recent years, that age has been increased to 72, and there's a bonus this year because of the craziness that's happening in the world. If you are have currently been taking your required minimum distributions, or you were going to have to start taking it this year, they've given you a reprieve where if you don't want to take that money out, you just want to let it sit in there and grow some more, that's okay. Finally, with a traditional IRA, there are no limitations of the amount of income you can earn and still be able to contribute to those traditional IRAs. However, there are contribution limits. So let's look at a Roth IRA and see what the big deal is, okay? The money that you contribute to a Roth IRA, you've already paid taxes on. And the growth that you experience on a Roth IRA, you're never going to have to pay taxes on. Remember that for a minute. You don't have to take anything out of a Roth IRA. That's not a required minimum distribution on there if you're the original account owner. And you can take money out as long as you're over 59 and a half and you have held the account for at least 5 years. Okay, and then this one though, if you are above a certain income threshold, then there are some limitations as to how much you can contribute to a Roth IRA. So if we go back to that the big part of what I just said, whenever you take money out of that Roth, you don't have to pay taxes on that growth. So if you're in your retirement and you're at a specific tax threshold, but you want a little more income without having to pay any more taxes, people go to their Roth IRA in order to do that. And so right now, while the market is down somewhat, we are showing some signs of recovery, but we never know. The market is down. Taxes are lower than they have been. Your tax bracket is lower. The market is down. And right now, there is a ton of money being pumped into the economy. So if we had to guess which way taxation might go in the future, most likely we would guess it's going to go one way, not the other. If you moved it over now, because if you move it from traditional to Roth, you're withdrawing from your IRA, you're going to have to pay the taxes on it. However, as the market rebounds, which it most likely will do, as the market rebounds, any of that growth that is happening is tax-free, and you'll be able to take it out when you need it and not have to worry about paying taxes on it. Pretty cool, huh? So there are a number of different ways that you can go about converting from a traditional IRA to a Roth IRA. Let's say, hypothetically, that you had $120,000 that you wanted to move from a traditional IRA to the Roth. Now, depending on what your tax bracket is and talking with your tax professional, you could, if the market is really down, right, and you can do it like that, you may want to bite the bullet and just move it all over at once. You can do something that's called dollar cost averaging, where you take your traditional IRA and every month you move over a specific amount from that traditional IRA into the Roth. The idea behind that is you're not trying to time the market or guess what the market's going to do and pull the trigger to get it all over there at the right time. The idea is, as the months progress, any of the good timing will balance out with the bad timing, and you're going to kind of end up in the middle. So that's called dollar cost averaging, where you can move it over little bit by little bit by little bit. Okay? So again, talking with your tax professional and your financial advisor as to whether or not this would be a good idea for you right now is opportunity number 2. And it's a good opportunity. So recap, okay? Taxes are at all-time low. The market is down still today. Anyway, who knows what's going to do tomorrow. And the government is handing out a lot of money. So if we did have to guess which way taxes may go in the future, they're probably going to go up. On to opportunity number 3. Opportunity number 3, wealth creation. That sounds great, doesn't it? Yeah, it sure does. Wealth creation. Let's see what it's all about. So, got money in checking and savings, not earning anything. You get those statements in the mail where it shows you that you're earning some change, but you're, not earning very much. CD rates in recent years have been better than they were in the past. However, not really keeping up with inflation. You may have money in your safe at your house. I walked into a home one time and a fellow told me he wanted to make an investment. We were getting ready to do it. And he came out of his closet with a duffel bag. And I said, well, what's that? And he says, the money. And he said it in front of me. True story, 25 grand in a duffel bag. I said, no, I'm not doing it that way. Nope, that happened. But that is a true story. So we're going to have a little more inspiration here, okay? Again, I'd like to ask one of you to read this out loud for us all in class, but we can't do that, so I'm just going to read it for us. The time of maximum pessimism is the best time to buy, and the time of maximum optimism is the best time to sell. So this goes along with that old adage of don't sell when you're down. Again, should that adage apply to everybody in every situation? Not necessarily. It depends. It's all about your unique situation and having somebody put together a plan for you that fits your exact needs and to reassess that plan as you go along. So, wealth creation, huh? How could this work? Well, let's say we're talking about airline stock. And let's say in February of 2020, we looked at airline number 1. Let's say it's Michigan Airlines, okay? We looked at that stock and saw what the price was. And that price was $83, and we bought 60 shares. So we were at $5,000, okay? And then March, April. April hit, and that stock went from 83 to 26, and our investment went from 5,000 down to a little over 1,500. That's a 70% loss. Ouch, right? But you're thinking, 70% loss. All I have to do is just wait for it to come up again 70%, and I'm going to be just fine. I'm going to be back where I was. But that's not how math works, folks. It's not. So how it really works is it would take 320% gain to get you back up to where you were. Let me give you some simpler math, okay? Let's say you had $100,000, I like the round numbers, and you lost 10%. Where would you be? $90,000. And then on that $90,000, you made 10%. Where would you be? Not at 100, you'd be at 99. That's how the math works. So how could this be good news? How could this work for us, work to our advantage? Well, let's see. If you have cash right now, anything with a low percentage rate, if you can get in when the market is down, okay, that's where you can see some big growth when the market returns. Now, should everybody take everything that they have in checking and savings and put it all into an airline stock? It depends. It does depend, okay? But you get my point. This is not overarching advice, okay? This is the general concept of when the market is down, if you have some money that's just sitting there and it's not doing anything for you, you can get in when the market is down wait for the market to come back up, and you're going to make some good returns. If your investment only regains 1/2 of what was lost with the stock before you put it in there, the way the math works, you'd be up 100%. Now, Warren Buffett. We all know Warren Buffett. He's not Jimmy Buffett's long lost uncle or brother or cousin. Warren Buffett, one of the wealthiest men in the world. People look to him for inspiration. And one of his quotes I love is, whether we're talking about socks or stocks, I like buying quality merchandise when it's marked down. Okay, he is a very frugal man. He still lives in the same house that he lived in 1958, even though he's a billionaire. He doesn't spend more than $3 on breakfast. Very frugal man, but very smart when it comes to money. And this is a great quote that just talks about the possibility of getting in when the market's down and being able to make some gains. Okay, so an annuity, and I say don't run away, don't run away. Annuities have gotten a bad rap in the past, and some of them were pretty horrible. That's true. However, things have really changed in recent years. There's some really good products out there that can help you in your retirement. Now, the reason why I bring up an annuity is because some of you may have thought when I was talking about buying low in the market, like, I just am not comfortable doing that. Well, if you're not comfortable doing that, but you still want some growth that tends to have the possibility to be much higher than a CD rate has the possibility to, then an annuity might be the way that you want to go. Annuities that I'm talking about protect your principal, so you're not going to be losing based on how the market performs. Okay? They participate in market gains, though. This is what's called an equity indexed annuity, and some of you may have seen some videos that I've done talking about this type of an annuity before. Account. So if you're not comfortable with putting your money in a market-based platform where it's bouncing around depending on what the market is doing, which right now it's been very volatile, then this is definitely something that you should be talking with an advisor about, because it could be the perfect solution to this issue, and it could be a great opportunity for you right now. So an annuity is another way of wealth generation. Recap of opportunity number 3, right? Buying when the market's down. Just like my stocks, like I like my socks. Marked down, right? Have a good buy. 2, many of the wealthiest investors like Warren Buffett talk about indexed annuities and also talk about buying when the market is down. And many financial advisors do believe that the market is going to make a recovery, and we have seen signs of that in recent weeks. Okay, so what have we learned today? Well, we have the opportunity to make logical decisions that aren't emotionally based, whether to keep what we have or move it. The second opportunity that we have is, should we have a Roth conversion? That might be a wise decision right now and an opportunity to help you in your future. And then the third opportunity, whether it is buying while the market is down, or putting money into an annuity, that can create some wealth generation. These are 3 crucial opportunities that all educators have during this time of COVID-19. Now, if you'd like to have a chat with me about any of these issues in your retirement or other issues in retirement, I'm a one-stop shop. Okay, Medicare, Social Security maximization, risk management, wealth assessment and distribution, any of those things. It's my wheelhouse. That's what I do. It's what I've been doing for the last 12 years. I'm teaching folks like you instead of 16-year-old kids Shakespeare, which, you know, you're usually a much more attentive audience, but you don't get the swords to play with. Sorry. Sorry. So as this webinar ends, there's plenty of opportunity for you to schedule some time for us to chat. We can chat over the phone, we can Zoom, or we can have a meeting with social distancing if you'd like. Whatever you'd like to do, I'd love to be able to be your teacher. So until I see you guys again, bye-bye.